they're doing construction outside. So my dog is being a little barky, so I might mute a lot, but hopefully she doesn't scare anyone.
Okay, you're good.
All right, welcome everyone to our Accessibility Advisory Committee meeting for February 11th. Nice to see everybody's faces, and hope everybody's doing well and surviving February and winter. First thing on our agenda is, oh, sorry, I have to pull it up.
Robert, there's a block here.
First thing on our agenda, sorry, I'm pulling it up, is call to order. Is there anything we would like to add to the agenda today?
Nope, not for me.
Yeah, yes, I would.
Okay, Linda?
Yes.
Is it under accessibility concerns from the public, or do you want it something underneath the actual business?
Yes, something from the public.
Okay.
And then, yes.
Is there anything else to add for today?
I just want to say welcome back to Councillor Bateman.
Yes.
Thank you, guys.
Yes. I didn't want to highlight you out, but it is nice to see your face.
Take that, man. I see it.
I'd like to say Nicole has been a great leader, and we should keep her on forever because she's so good to us and makes us do what we have to do. Thank you, Nicole.
I agree.
Thank you for that. We got to do the agenda first before we get to that part. Anyone like to move to approve the agenda for today then?
I will.
Okay, Sandy, and the seconder, Linda, all in favor? Okay, so that's carried, so approve the agenda. And then second thing on our list is the, let me go back to that. Approval of, or election of chair and vice chair.
I thought we did this last November.
I think we do it every beginning of every year, right? Is that correct, Jessica?
That's
But did
correct.
we talk about it in December? When was our last meeting?
It was
The
December.
last meeting was December, but no, we do it at the beginning of each year.
Yes. And
So this is your first meeting.
We decided at that time, we had voted in Mark, but I don't know how he's feeling about that now.
I don't believe you
Or
voted.
vice
You
chair.
do this during the first meeting of each year. So this is your
Yes.
first meeting of the year. So we're electing or re-electing your chair and vice chair.
Yes.
So the first thing, we'll focus first on the chair. And I know there's been comments already. Are we okay to carry on with me as chair, or does anyone else like to carry on that role?
Mary.
Mary has something to say.
I just want to move the motion that we have Nicole because she's done such a great job as our chair again this year. I think we need somebody maybe to second that motion.
I'll second it.
Okay, Linda. And all in favor?
Aye.
Okay. All right. So thank you. I'll carry on as chair. And now as vice chair, are there any nominations for a vice chair?
As I was saying, I think we talked about Mark being vice chair last year, but I don't know how he feels about that now that his health is a little iffy. Mark?
If there's no other nominees for it, I feel fine to carry on.
I vote for Mark for our vice chair.
I second that.
Okay. All in favor for that?
Aye.
Okay. Thank you, Mark, for that. Appreciate your
you,
support. Next is declarations of pecuniary interests or general nature thereof. Is there anyone that needs to declare anything? Nope. Okay. And then number 5 is approval of the minutes from our last meeting, which was December 10th, 2022. Were there any changes or admissions to the minutes? Okay. Would anyone like to move to approve the minutes from our last meeting then?
I will.
Mary, and then Colleen second. And then all in favor for that?
Aye.
Okay. Carried. So first off, we have delegations. I don't think we have any delegations today. I think Preston, you're further down as municipal update. The first thing on the agenda then is National Accessibility Week brainstorming. So if it's okay, I might go ahead and share my screen. I know some people are visual learners, so I typed out sort of some of the research I had done and information I've talked to. And so I'm going to share my screen so everyone can see that as well as hear it. Oops. Please let me know if you don't see it. So the Accessibility Awareness Week, I might.
Sorry,
You
it just
guys
says
hear
that you've
Nothing yet,
started
Nicole.
sharing. There we go.
There it
There it
is.
is.
We got it.
Yeah, okay. I was a little frozen there for a bit. Accessibility Awareness Week is Sunday, May 29th to Saturday, June 4th, 2022. So it's coming up. Now that we're in 2022, it seems like, oh, we need to figure out what we're doing for that. For a vision, I had written down, highlight how we can make our community, whether it's public spaces, schools, or businesses, more accessible for individuals with vision challenges. So far I've reached out to both CNIB as well as Vision Loss Ontario. I thought they were all within the same umbrella, but I guess it is 2 separate agencies. So I've been talking with a few people from both. I did hear back from Kate, and what she had said that in the past, they have done some public education presentations covering what sight loss is, some etiquette surrounding interacting with someone who is blind. They've done presentations for a general audience, for school children, or for business owners working with employees or customers. There's a really good website called Clearing Our Path that she said was a good web resource. And as well, there's general resources on the CNIB website. And then the website, I'll send this document out to everybody as well. There's also a good website for Vision Loss Ontario. So what Kate has, you were able to book actually like a 30-minute advocacy call with her, and they're willing to provide resources or whatever we need. So I thought it might be a good idea to go ahead and book something with her. But before that, I think we need a bit more direction for exactly what we wanted to do. Because the next steps were determine sort of our desired format, what audience we want to talk to. And then we can book a 30-minute advocacy session with both Kate and then Scott is from Vision Loss Rehab about options and then how we can support this project. But I think we need a bit of direction from our end about what we wanted to do. So for format, I just sort of typed in a bunch of different types of formats that we could potentially do. And so we can sort of figure out what we want and then who our audience is going to be. So I know in the past we've done things where we've had a speaker come in. Like we had Tracy come in and she did speaker both at a school as well as for the general public. I don't know how realistic that is right now with it still being pandemic time. I don't know how comfortable people would be coming in to listen to a speaker, if we'd even be allowed to do that. We could do something like a podcast where we actually just have a discussion with Kate for an hour and it gets put out on social media about accessibility needs in the community. Again, I don't know if that might be too long for people to really listen to. And we need to really lean on some people for podcasting skills because I'm not a podcaster. So I don't have any of the equipment and I don't know if the municipality does. I thought we could do an information booth in the library foyer. Since I know there is public coming in and out of that space. So that could be something where we just have a booth set up for either a day or the week. We could do something like last year with short social media videos. They were a lot of work. I know Ralph DeYoung put an incredible amount of time into setting those up. I don't know if we need 5, maybe we could do 1. Or we could do something for social media just in print only, where it's 5 days. Each day we bring up something, whether it's, the first day is how to interact. The next day might be how to make your business more accessible. Maybe how to identify someone who has vision loss, where to look for resources, something about maybe interacting with guide dogs. So those were some ideas of format. Does anyone else have any other ideas for formats that we could do? Preston?
Sorry, I'm not even sure if I can chime in on this sort of thing, but could we do something maybe out in the public a little more, perhaps with council members involved or other committees? And I know there's goggles out there. I don't know where you can get them, but they alter your vision to simulate different vision problems, and maybe do a walk from Alice Street over to Memorial Park and back. And kind of make it get an article in the newspaper and something on the radio maybe, and make it a bit of a community engagement event so that people could actually experience what other people struggle with every day or have to deal with every day. And I don't know if they have anything that could mimic mobility issues. I don't know, but maybe something like that. And I would happily volunteer my time to help put that together and put it on.
Yep.
Because I think it would
And
be
we've done that in the past. I think the plan was to do that a few years ago, but then with COVID, we weren't quite able to. So yes, I had forgotten to put that one in. That's a good idea.
Nicole, I think would it be worth tabling? This is in May, right? So I'm wondering if it's worth tabling till next meeting to see how restrictions may be eased in order to plan for something later in May, because I would think the more public this could be, the better off we would be. I can certainly understand why we might need to limit, public interaction, but I think in this case, when it comes to accessibility, the more people can actually see and appreciate and interact, I think that might be the better way to go. But until such time as restrictions are lifted, or most of the restrictions are lifted, it would be really difficult to plan anything. And if we really commit something now and later find that we can go further, it might be hard to retreat and do your steps over again. That's all.
Yep, no, that makes sense too. I'm just cognizant of time. By the time we reach people to meet, if we wait till March, then by the time we meet with everybody, then we don't meet again until April.
Right.
And it's just.
I understand. It's really tough how to commit yourself right today on stuff 3 months out when there's the whole world is shifting one way or the other. It's kind of tough. But certainly, something like maybe in the library or something like that, where you have a central place where people can go, or if we have something outside at the arena or the park, that's something about what Preston has been talking about, and that kind of thing. Anything we can do outside with the public or a small audience would be, I think, much more beneficial to us.
And I think people are more comfortable with doing things outside. And even if we look at current restrictions right now,
Yeah.
I think we would be able to do something at the park with a walk
Yes,
around, right?
certainly.
Or a walk on the street or back, something
A
like that.
booth and information booth and people that people to demonstrate activity, demonstrate certain ways of sight loss, that kind of thing. And the guide dogs, certainly, that would be great for the kids to have the puppies out there.
Mhm.
That kind of thing.
I'll add that in here. Any other ideas about format? Does anyone want to, what does everyone think? Do we want to defer on deciding on format till March, or do we want to go ahead? And I like the public idea one, for my own personal opinion.
Which one did you like, Nicole?
The public idea one of doing that, doing a walk. I hadn't even, my brain is still in pandemic mode, so I hadn't even thought about that option. But it's outside and things can be sanitized between people, or they might even have enough that there might be 10 sets of vision glasses. So we might not have to do much of sanitization of things.
I like that idea.
Yeah.
I think we get more attention that way, being outside and moving around and letting other people participate.
Mm-hmm. And would everyone think about doing it on a weekday or a weekend?
It would probably be a weekend so that the most people could attend.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like a Saturday?
Sure.
Or Sunday?
You want to do one day or both days?
One day.
I think one day
okay.
would be enough.
Yeah.
I think
would
Saturday.
be.
Sunday.
What about a rain delay?
Yeah.
So Saturday and then rain delay would be Sunday?
That makes sense to me.
Yep.
Anybody else have
That
thoughts
sounds
about that? Mark, I think I saw your hand. Sorry, I can't see everyone when I'm on sharing mode, so you might have to speak up.
I was just going to ask, what time of year you're looking at doing this again? You're looking at late
May.
Late May.
So you could get in contact with Director Miller and your plan B for a type of walk. I know it's not optimal to be inside, but they could throw the bay door open, the ice will be out and the ice pad will be dry and clear. So you would have an indoor-outdoor plan B if you couldn't be outside in the elements, if Mother Nature didn't want to operate, right?
Yep.
There's also the overhang at Memorial Park as well.
And you have the picnic shelter down there. I really like the idea of being outside because I know we're still under the pandemic and technically still in, the modified phase 2. But that's moving fast and it's fluid. And I don't think we have to. I think we should be planning like it's going to be opened up. And I think that would bring more people out because those that have any level of accessibility restrictions and stuff, they've been impacted as much, if not more, during the pandemic than others. And I think a lot of people would be biting at the bit, so to speak, to get out and do stuff.
Okay.
And some of those people, if they came out, they could, I think it'd be nice to hear the challenges that they faced during the pandemic. Now, I personally know somebody that has a vision impairment that faced challenges that they wouldn't normally face, but the pandemic made them face it. The signage that goes up to say, line up here, line up there. We can all see that, but they not necessarily can't. Stuff like that. It would, I think it'd be great to get that perspective and get those people out.
And is that a person that might be willing to talk about that at that day?
I'm sure I can ball and pick them. It's my wife's uncle. If he's listening, you're going to do it. I think he would, because he did face a lot of challenges because of it. Because as soon as the pandemic hit and they started putting up the signs, the social distancing, the physical distancing, and stay the 2 meters apart, and based on the capacity of some stores, sometimes you had to line up outside. And if you have any level of vision impairment, you can't see that sign. And sometimes they were singled out, and the people didn't know they had a vision impairment. So they did face challenges. And I'm sure there's others that had different levels of accessibility issues that face challenges that we aren't even aware of, because we don't have those challenges.
Yep. Okay. Marina?
What Councillor Bateman has said is perfect. So we have, an activity that brings people out, gets them aware of what somebody might experience, but also match that with what can we do to make things better in our businesses, in the public, in our interactions with people, just so that we can, both experience it as well as make Brighton a better place for people who do have vision loss. So I think kind of having that matching, so maybe something to go throughout the week. So we have the activity, and then maybe small social media posts about how you can make things better, or we can hear from speakers about their specific experiences. I think matching all that together would be really beneficial.
Okay. Yeah. Well, maybe what I'll do, I will, if everyone's okay, we'll leave it at this point for now. We'll think about a public event with a bit of maybe social media during the week just to advertise it. Because if we do the social media during the week, then on the last weekend of Accessibility Awareness Week, so that would be June 4th and 5th, I think, is when we could have the event. So then all of our social media posts can be advertising to come out on Saturday for our walk. I will touch base with the contacts I have from CNIB and low vision loss, just to see if that timeline is okay, if they have ideas for that, and then we can talk about it more in March. Does that work with everybody else?
Yeah, that's great.
Yes.
Nicole?
Mark? Yep.
I was going to say, even if weather is permitting, if we could do something inside King Edward Park, even if the weather is great, because there's other accessibility concerns, or anybody that had any accessibility impairments, they face challenges too. And you take any of the stores that had the directional arrows, when they put all those protocols in place, it's hard for me to imagine, or anybody else that's not in a wheelchair or a mobility scooter, the challenges they faced. Even though those were put down for everybody's safety, I'm sure it must have thrown up some barriers for those that have those impairments. And the arena stands out. I think they did a phenomenal job when the pandemic hit to allow kids to keep playing hockey with the spacing and the stuff in the dressing rooms. But for anybody to go in there and have to navigate, even though it's set up as good as it could be, we would never know what that's like, because unless we're in their shoes. So I think it would be great to have tours through some of those things, so that we can feel, or even if we had chairs there so we could experience it, or hear from them, from their experiences on the challenges they face with all the different protocols that were put in place for safety. Because even though it was there to protect them and protect us, I'm sure it threw up a lot of barriers for them at the same time.
Yep. I think I'm just cognizant of, we can't make it too big. So I think we need to figure out how best to be, get the message out without there being too many different avenues that we're going down. So I think that maybe in March we can talk about that more. Is that
They
okay?
only have the one day. So.
Yep. Okay.
Great. Thank you, Nicole.
All right. If any, I will send that sheet out that I had, just so everybody has it over email. And if you've got questions, you can get back to me. Mary, I see the finger.
Thank you. The one thing that I just wanted to comment, I really do like Preston's idea, and I think that was our most effective time on this committee, when we did walk with the mayor and councillors. A lot of people joined in at one point or another and commented on what we were trying to, what needs were in accessibility. I think we have a great opportunity in the downtown core, and especially because we have the Memorial Park there with the stage. I'm just wondering if there's some way, and I have no technology, as everybody knows, experience. So, but is there something we could put on the big screen there? Have our speakers, even if they couldn't come to that place, have it on the screen. So many of the older people do not do social media, so they wouldn't even know that this was going on. And a lot of those people are the ones that have visual impairment, hearing impairment, all kinds of other things that keep them from fully functioning. So I don't know, the walk in the downtown area, I would think would be more effective than something at the community center. We did have the devices down there at that time, and people could go down there, but I think that you get more response in the downtown area.
Okay.
Because on a Saturday the stores are open, so people are shopping and walking around, and there may be some of those people that have different impairments that I should go and see what this is all about, and maybe there's something that can help me. I know I have a friend who is two that are legally impaired sight-wise, and when they found out all the great things that they could do just to help them with their reading, and I know that Heather has been involved in that too. And even on the computers, you can get a computer that'll make everything that much bigger for you, but some older people just don't know that those things are available. So the same with hearing, there's lots of ways that on a phone that they can. I had an aunt who they came and amplified the phone so that she was able to hear. Otherwise, she wouldn't be able to hear on the phone even. So there's a lot of, and there's children, as you know, Nicole, that have problems with sight and also with hearing. So I don't know. Can we coordinate that with what you do in the schools with the kids when it's on a Saturday? Like parents could come.
Well, we could let schools know about it, right?
Yeah.
And they could add it to some of their websites and things like that, their notices. But if it's on a Saturday, yeah, it's hard to do school related.
Right.
And I think when we've done the schools and other thing and the public thing in the past, it's a lot of work to put it all together and coordinate it all on the same day. So, but we can talk about that in March.
Yeah. Okay.
Once we whittle down a bit. And then my only other thought is, do we want to do this as a subcommittee or do we want to do this through a meeting? Because there's a lot of working parts of it. So do we want to do this through our meeting time or do we want to have a smaller subcommittee to work on it and then report back? Mark, I think I saw your hand first and then Preston.
My opinion is to get it going, if you want to meet the timelines, you almost need a subcommittee that can report back because you're only meeting once a month. So time will go by really fast.
Mm-hmm. Preston, what were you going to say?
I had the same thought to go with a subcommittee. And if we wanted to do this downtown, should we engage the DBIA in any way to at least make them aware?
Mm-hmm.
And
that would be a really,
yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not sure how much time
them.
that group has.
No. Sorry, say that again.
Sorry, I'm not sure how much time that group has to spare, but at least they should be aware, I guess.
Yep. Yep. Is there anyone that has a desire to sit on a subcommittee with me to organize it all? Sandy?
I have a question for Marina. Marina, can I sit on that subcommittee or offer myself to that subcommittee?
I can look into it. I would also like to offer my services if that's a possibility, just so we can make this the best event that we can make it. So I'll certainly look into it.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. Oh,
Nicole,
Mark, your hand's up, sorry.
Good. Just a question on the subcommittee. Do the subcommittees always have to be comprised of members of the actual committee?
I don't know.
I only ask because the way, for this first year, I haven't been involved in minor hockey in some time. Like we can strike up against the committees of other people. I was thinking in terms of my wife's uncle, if, having somebody from the community be on the subcommittee, they're not necessarily, they're not on the committee, so they don't get the per diem and stuff. But if they're willing to lend their expertise or their opinions on stuff, I don't know what the rules are around that.
I think Jessica has her hand up for that.
Yeah, so Councillor Bateman, kind of like how we discussed with the community events committee on Tuesday, I don't see any reason why people can't volunteer their time. You just need to make it clear that they're not on the committee, they're not a committee member, they are volunteering their time and helping the committee with the event.
Yeah, 100%. That's what I find on a lot of committees, whether it's council committees or even like minor hockey and figure skating, we always have the same trouble or problem. We don't have enough volunteers. So you have a committee and you're trying to do more with the same number of people. You've just made a smaller committee. So if you can engage others that want to be involved because they have a passion for that, I think that's a great thing.
Okay.
So in looking at the terms of reference, I don't see any reason why we couldn't assist. Under committee support, it says a non-voting representative from planning or building services staff and a recording secretary. So that would be Preston and myself. Other staff support to the committee will be required from time to time from all departments, i.e. during budget development. So this, I feel, could maybe fall on that secondary point where there's additional assistance to the committee.
I would happy to be part of it just as a resident as well.
All right, I'll type up a summary and send it out, and then we can go from there. Awesome. I think I'm excited about it.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Doing something in person. Okay. Any other comments or notes about National Accessibility Awareness Week? Okay.
Pray for good weather.
Yes.
Oh, I think we should have a printed invitation for people to come to the Accessibility Day in the paper, a good size, because people tell me that they didn't know we had it.
Yep. Okay.
Nicole, can I add something?
Yep.
It's just on the subcommittee, because I'm just a strong believer in involving people outside committees on subcommittees, because we were talking earlier, how do we get people out to these different things? And when you involve the public and make them part of the process, they're going to bring people into it. So involving non-committee members, residents, and subcommittees helps us with our goal of getting people engaged to come out. So I just think all around it's a win-win when we do that.
So are you saying we should put a call out to ask for interest?
I don't think it would hurt, because there could be a lot of people out there that don't realize that they might not want to be on a committee full time, but they'd love to help out if it was a project that really interests them because they've got experience in it or been impacted at some time. And then you get that public engagement that we all want.
Okay, so would it be something like out on, I'm just thinking about where we would do that, whether we would, sorry, Jessica, you got your hand up?
Yeah, sorry, my suggestion would be to maybe get in contact with our economic development and communications team They're excellent with our social media and posting for stuff like that. And I'm sure they would happily make some posts up to discuss with you to post on it would be our municipal page that your accessibility committee is looking for volunteers to help with this event and to be part of this subcommittee. But it's definitely something that you could contact that department, and after the meeting I can forward you their emails if that's needed.
Sure. Yeah, that would be great. I think they came to our committee meeting in the fall where we sort of talked about some ideas as well. So yeah, okay. Is that all right with everyone if I carry on with that to look for volunteers?
Yep.
Yes, please.
Okay. All right. Anything else on National Accessibility Awareness Week? All right, we're going to move on to 7.2, which is a new grant opportunity. So I'm not sure if it's Jessica or Marina that's going to talk to that one.
I can speak to that one. Thank you, Nicole. So Ontario Investing in Inclusive and Accessible Communities has their applications open for a grant opportunity. It is up to $60,000 for a local project that will help older residents and people with disabilities participate in community life. Now, the deadline is March 3rd, so it's quite soon, and we won't have time for, we won't have our next meeting. So I was just wondering if the committee would like to brainstorm. It's not guaranteed that we'd get the grant, but we might as well put something in and we can hope for the best. So I don't know, I know this is just kind of coming out of the blue, but does anyone have any ideas in terms of something that might help older adults or people with disabilities participate in Brighton community life?
I'd like to say.
Go ahead, Linda.
I would like to say that that kind of money would help people be able to access our main street, the buildings that are not accessible now. And that might be a big possibility. There's several buildings on our main street that are not accessible to people. So
I'd have to look into the terms of it if we're able to sort of work with private companies, the people who would own those businesses, or if it has to be some sort of municipal facility. I'll have to take a look into that.
It's the owners of the buildings that I think they would be the people we'd have to get in touch with.
They're in Toronto.
Well, they're not all. They have to be, we have to know who owns the buildings in our town, don't we? That's my thoughts.
I think what Marina was saying though as well is that I don't know if we can apply for money to then go to other businesses, right?
Okay.
Although one idea could be that we apply for money to go towards multiple portable ramps that we provide to businesses that they then can use. So that could be one option versus us asking for grant money to go towards construction of a non-municipal building. That one might not fly.
Yeah, I understand that we couldn't apply for money to give away to somebody else. I understand that, yes.
Marina, did the terms of reference when it says participating in community life, did it specify whether it was public infrastructure or activities or anything like that?
It's for municipalities, nonprofit community organizations, and Indigenous communities to apply and just to participate in community life. It was the very last minute that they sent this out. It's only been open since January 25th, the application period, and it closes March 3rd.
Maybe it would be so like community care would be an area that we could use the money to reopen their building to the community for I don't know they've been closed through the whole pandemic. So that may be one area we could use. You could put forward that would be in need. I know while the pandemic's on, they've been still doing Meals on Wheels, but there's nothing at the office that's offered to other seniors.
Linda, I think that's because of space.
I know
It's not a very big office, and in order to get people in.
I understand that they had a water leak. That's what I was told why they're shut down.
That was a year ago, right?
Right.
It's
I
been a
don't
long
know.
time.
I don't
Yeah.
know if it's got fixed. I haven't got any other information from them.
And again, I'm not sure if we can apply for money for another agency, but definitely it's something that we could pass on to community care that's available.
But she just said for community services and Indigenous people.
Yep, and
it is a community service.
Yes, I think what she meant was that community services can apply for this grant money as well.
Okay.
So municipalities, community services, and Indigenous services can apply.
Okay.
But it's definitely something that, we can let community care know that's available.
That would be good.
If you'd be interested,
Mary,
I can tell you. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Sorry, go ahead. Go ahead.
If you're interested, I can. So I sit on the Clarington Accessibility Advisory Committee, and we've already had our meeting this month. And so we've discussed some options for ourselves as well as past projects. So I can maybe get some things flowing. So we discussed, we have a community garden. So we discussed getting raised garden beds so that people don't have to bend over as much. We talked about paving walkways or paths, like say through the woods, so that people who have even parents with strollers, bikes and wheelchairs can go through those paths easier. I think this year we might be applying for an accessible swing set or some playground equipment. Another option is accessible picnic tables. I know that Pickering, I used to work for Pickering, they had something like that. So you could, bring your wheelchair up to the picnic table. It kind of has a bench on one side and it's open on the other side. So that's an option. We could look at getting traction plates at walkways so that people know when they're approaching a street. And Clarington last year received money for scooter charging stations along their pathways. So there's lots of different opportunities. So if anybody was interested in that, I can certainly look into any of those options as well.
Mary?
I really like the idea, Marina, of the picnic tables, and especially because so many people, when we can, like to go and listen. They get quite a crowd for the bands that play in the park. And that would be a real benefit to those who come in scooters or wheelchairs to have a table, to place whatever your drink or whatever your cane to hang on there, or any number of things. And I think that, I don't know, Preston, you would know. I don't think we have anything like that in the park, do we?
Through Madam Chair, I don't believe we do. I know there's some picnic tables in Memorial Park.
Yeah.
But there's not a lot of accessibility.
It's all grassed.
You can park you can place yourself. I'm on my scooter at the end of the table because there's no seat there. So that is a possibility.
Mm-hmm.
But you find ways of using your areas when you're looking for that kind of help. Thank you.
Paul?
Marina, I like the idea of a community garden kind of thing. Like in Toronto, where they had the community patch of gardens that you could rent out and plant your own veggies and that kind of thing. So you could have a community garden that could be accessible, and people can maybe plant their own little gardens where they couldn't before because they had to move out of their houses and move into an apartment kind of thing. So I might be missing that kind of thing, right? So that might be something that some money could do. I'm saying because it is only $60,000. So 60 grand is not a lot of money, and you really can't build a lot of infrastructure with 60 grand. But you can do something. You can do a fair amount of thing when it comes to outside work and gardening and that kind of thing. You can do a fair amount with that.
That might be something that we could discuss. Maybe it's a possibility for next year, but I think
Sure.
we would have to probably establish the site first.
Yes.
Make sure, connect with maybe a gardening group in the area, look at the maintenance of the land. So I wasn't sure if Brighton had a community garden. It seems like not yet, but hopefully sometime.
Maybe not yet, no.
And that's certainly something we can think about for the future. It would make it a lot easier for people. Instead, if they have to bend all the way down, they can kind of do it at waist or higher height.
Sure. Yep.
I'm thinking maybe Preston, I was looking through our accessibility plan as well. I don't think there's any public spaces right now that are highlighted. Like I know there's a really good plan for sidewalks and tactile plates at the sidewalks and things like that already. Is there anything else that you can think of from the municipality for physical building wise that needs to be done that is a funding issue?
Well, I can't speak to the arenas and parks,
Mm-hmm.
but as part of my municipal update, we've completed all building condition assessments, and there's only been some minor issues addressed in those, so we're in very good condition. So I can't think of any project that we could try to get to 60,000 other than our tactical plates and ramps that we have on the books for again this year in our sidewalk program.
Mm-hmm.
Now I know the curling arena has accessibility issues to that building, but 60,000 wouldn't help
touch
that
it.
project much,
No.
because it probably would require a large addition and some renovations inside the building. So, so the only project I can think of that's on the books right now that it could fund is the infrastructure repairs for accessibility and tack plates.
Yeah, that would certainly help.
Or I'm not sure what the time frame is to spend on that project, but another consideration could be audible devices that we need at all of our controlled intersections for the visually impaired. It won't be on the budget consideration till this fall for next year, but that might be something that money could be well spent towards.
So Marina, do you need sort of a vote for where to go with this? Like timelines, because I know we don't have time before they're due to put forward something. Do you need us to sort of vote on which one we think is most beneficial, or?
It might be useful to kind of leave it a little open, just in case we look at the cost and we can't fit it within that price. Because I'm not sure how much the cost of all these are. So I'm not exactly sure. Jessica, do you have a suggestion on how to frame that, leaving some options for me to go forward once I get some sort of quotes?
Yeah, what's your recommendations for the grant application? Do you have to specify what the money is going to be for?
When I put it through on March 3rd, I will, but I'll have to do a little bit of research before that while I put together the application. And I'm not sure at this point how much each of these options cost.
Okay, so then minute wise and motion wise, I would suggest something along the lines of that you that Marina does move forward with the application, but terms and decision for what the funds are used for will need to be, I'm not really sure how you guys are going to decide after she looks into it without the exception of, another meeting.
Based on our conversation, perhaps you could leave it up to me. I know that's kind of, I mean, it is free money. Let's hope that we get it. I think that would be great. Any of these options, I think, will benefit the residents of Brighton, certainly more than not applying for it. So that is an option, since we're not exactly sure how to move forward. But I'm not sure what else you think.
And I'd be okay to even leave it saying something like motion to support Marina Municipality of Brighton to apply for the $60,000, what is it, community supports grant? I can't remember the exact name of it.
Ontario Investing in Inclusive and Accessible Communities.
Okay. To support applying for the Ontario, oh goodness gracious, I forgot it already, but you can pass it on to Jessica, in the areas that we had discussed during the meeting, like because we have discussed the accessible picnic tables, we've talked about putting it towards infrastructure repairs, we've talked about the audible devices at intersections might be another one. Like I would be supportive of any of those options, and I don't know if maybe we can just leave that open.
We could say just that Marina use her own discretion in identifying the project to request the funding. Okay, so that way it could be almost anything.
And that we support her in her decision.
Marina is more than welcome to send an email to everyone to sort of say, to get our thoughts if you're not sure about something. Yeah, we can go from there.
Yep.
Before we go to a motion, Paul, did you have another comment to make? You had your hand up earlier.
Oh, I think it was just probably what I thought maybe probably the best way to go is whatever is currently on the books budgeted to be used for community access. You know, it's rather than try to reinvent the wheel. Oh, and the other thing I wanted to ask, remember those audio devices that we were looking at some months ago? Have those been funded? Remember, we had voted on some audio devices being used by council for council meetings. That council to look into that. Remember when Tom was looking into that special audio devices or something? That was some months ago, so last year. When you were talking about audio devices, I remembered that.
Jessica?
Sorry, and again, I've only just started being involved with the committee. I don't remember Tom talking to me about something about audio devices. I do remember, are you talking about the closed captioning?
Something like that. It was closed captioning or...
Okay, yeah, so Marina does have an update about that, but that'll be further down for the municipal update.
Okay, so that wasn't to do, there's no...
I don't
that's
remember
not a community funding kind of deal.
That I'm not sure, but specifically, I don't remember Tom mentioning anything to me about audio devices.
It might have been the closed captioning.
It might have been the closed captioning, is just my thinking.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that makes sense to me, but if it was the closed captioning. Okay. I'm trying to think of anything else, but I don't remember anything else either.
I'm trying to remember.
Okay. So I'd like to go ahead and put a motion in then that the Accessibility Advisory Committee supports Marina and the Municipality of Brighton to apply for the Ontario Initiatives for Inclusivity Grant, as discussed in our meeting today.
Yeah.
Okay.
And Mary, are you okay to second that?
Yeah, I totally agree with that. Yeah. I totally agree with your motion, and I don't think we need to add anything to it, because then it could be questionable that we're placing everything, and that wouldn't be fair to Marina if we, because there was a bit of talk about specifics and her making a decision on her own. So I think just what you've said is enough.
Okay.
Yes.
And is everyone in favor with that motion?
Yes.
Okay, so that's carried. All right. Yeah, and Marina, are you okay to follow up with Jim Miller about that one as well? Or do you want me to send him an email just because I know the picnic tables would be Parks and Rec and things like that? Or are you okay to follow up with him?
I can certainly follow up with him.
Okay, all right. All right. Is there anything else, Marina, under that one for the grant opportunity?
No, that's everything. Thank you.
Okay, all right. The next thing on the agenda is reports, and that's the municipal update, is 8.1. So I'm not sure, is it Preston doing that one or Marina?
Possibly a little bit of both.
Okay.
Why don't you go first, Preston, and give Marina a bit of a break?
Okay. Okay, there's just a few things on the list today. So the first one I already mentioned is the building condition assessments. That's part of our asset management plan that we're building. All of those reviews are complete. We're just going over the final drafts now, and it's really only identified very minor things with our buildings, any relation to accessibility. So that's good news. And it's already, all those repairs will be funded under our existing maintenance and repairs budgets. So that'll be all taken care of this year. As part of the capital budget in December, council has approved another $285,000 worth of sidewalk repairs. And again, that will be focused on the accessibility side of things, tactile plates, ramps, trip hazards, that sort of thing. And we'll be bringing a report to council in a couple of weeks to make a recommendation on a contractor for that work. So we hope to get going, well, the end of March, beginning of April, hopefully, to get some of that work started so that we're done and off the streets by summertime when hopefully some tourists come back. I had a meeting this week with Robert from GeoMate. He did a presentation at the last meeting. Their product produces some very nice looking maps and some useful information, but the level of detail we need to be compliant to our minimum maintenance standards and to the accessibility needs, their projects don't necessarily have that accuracy we need. Everything we have now for data and inspections is boots on the ground and people on the ground. So measuring things, we do our inspections every year. We hire a company that travels it with a robotic machine that measures and captures all the data on the sidewalk. And then there's a helper that follows it. They paint trip hazards, that sort of thing. So that helps identify our projects and keeps us compliant with minimum maintenance. The issue I see so far with GeoMate is that they pull all their information from aerial views and Google Street Views. So, and some LiDAR mapping. So in that information is, one, the bulk of the time it is dated, sometimes several years. Two, the level of error in LiDAR mapping doesn't capture our requirements for minimum maintenance standards because trip hazards start at 20 millimeters. So that's a very specific measurement. And if they have a level of accuracy that is between 5 millimeters and 40 millimeters, we may not be catching all of our issues there. So it is a very nice product. It produces nice maps that could be useful for public information. But as far as our hard data that we need to act on, I think it's best that we stick with our procedures that we're doing now to help guide our programs and to keep our liability at a minimum as far as trip hazards go.
Mm-hmm.
The last thing on my list is, it's been an issue for a little while, I guess, for this committee, is the Life Lab box at the medical center at 170 Main Street. So I've spoken to the manager that looks after that building. They've moved it from outside the door to inside, but that still presents issues for emergency exits because it will block and hinder those doors. So I've tasked my building maintenance person to come up with a stand And we're going to use recycled steel automotive parts actually to build this stand. So it helps our going green movement a little bit. And we're going to mount it on a stand and have it inside the building completely so that it's out of the way of the entrance completely, and it's not going to hinder anybody's access to the building or make any trouble areas where they can't access a button, or maybe this door doesn't open all the way if they happen to have an emergency and need to get out of the building. So that's how we're proceeding forward with that, and hopefully eliminate that issue altogether moving forward. And that's all.
Preston? Yes, Preston?
Yep.
When I inquired about it being in front of that door, I was told the box had to be outside because sometimes LifeLab picks up that box or what it's in that box after hours when the building is not open to the public. And you're saying now it's going to go into the building. Now, how are they going to make sure Life Labs picks that up while the building's open? That's a problem that I can see, because from what I was told at the original problem, they put it outside so that the Life Labs could pick up when the building wasn't open. Now, if they turn their situation around so that the Life Labs is going to come and pick up while the building's open, or I know that's not your concern as far as knowing the building's open or not, and you have talked to the person that is in charge of the building, I would like to know if that's what's going to happen.
I'm not aware of any of those operational issues, but I do know for a fact that they moved the box inside that locked door, so maybe that's not a problem anymore. But if it is, it's fine, because we can still have that box on the exterior of the building, just put it next to the entrance back by the building, because the entrance does stick out quite a bit there, so they can put it in off to the side so it's out of the way. They could still make deposits, and Life Labs could still make their pickup. So
that's what
both ways.
That was my suggestion, back beside the building, because it was still under the roof that's over the building. So it wouldn't be so difficult for somebody to come and pick it up, and the box would still be sheltered and safe. Their concern was that that somebody might try to get into the box or something. I'm not sure about that, but I think Life Labs is pretty well known as what it does. So I can't see that anybody would think that there would be anything in that box that would be valuable to the average person. But I'm glad that you got it seen to. Thank you very much.
Preston, I have a question for you. Have we found out anything more about the walkway between the bank and the library as to whether that sidewalk or piece of sidewalk is going to be fixed?
That's the property between the CIBC and the post office. It's not municipal lands. It's been mentioned to both building owners that it's a problem. And I haven't heard anything, and I haven't seen anything as far as repair works that have taken place. The post office did do some asphalt work on their laneway on the east side of the building, where they got rid of a depression that was holding water. But in doing so, they've paved a trip hazard. So hopefully they rectify that. It's all back on private property. There's not much I can do about it, but hopefully they rectify that to get rid of the trip hazard on that new asphalt that they poured.
Okay, and one more question. I was walking through Casey Lane the other day, and there seems to be a lot of dog mess through there. Who's responsible for cleaning that up?
Well, by bylaw, Stoop and Scoop, the owner of the animal is.
I agree, but that's not the way it is if you take a walk through there.
So yeah, the maintenance on that is kind of a combined effort between Parks and Public Works. There's not a lot we can do in the wintertime if it gets frozen into the snowbanks. We do provide the winter maintenance through there. But council is currently looking into enhancing bylaw. Maybe Mary or Brian can help me on this one, but helping in is increasing bylaw enforcement. That would be one of those areas that would definitely need to be targeted at the early hours in the morning when people are letting their dogs use those facilities as their washroom and not cleaning up after them.
There's all kinds on the stones as well,
So
and in the snowbank.
In the springtime, when it thaws out, we wash all the sidewalks, so we'll try to clean everything up as best we can there.
Okay.
Some active management of people's behaviors in there may go a long way to curbing that habit, I guess you could call it.
It's just unfortunate, that's all.
It is, because we put a lot of work into that lane. It is a
Yes.
beautiful space now, and to have people go in there and use it for those reasons is very disappointing, to say the least.
Mark, I see your hand up. Oh, you're on mute.
One question and a comment on the stoop, the dog stuff that's happening all over the place. It's even happening at the dog park. I was reading complaints online that, you know, some dog owners were complaining about other dog owners. So I think Preston's bang on. There's a lot of education and enforcement that has to take place, because the majority of dog owners are good. There's just a few that are ruining it for everybody. But for Preston, you mentioned the facility accessibility assessment. Did they identify any at King Edward Park at the community center? I'm looking at the doors that go into the community center. I think it was an oversight when they built it, because all the other doors, like the new door that access to the arena has the automatic, like you push the buttons and the doors open. Are they identifying or looking at doing the same to the community center? Right now, all those doors are full. They never did put the push button, have them open automatically.
That's something I'd have to look into. Jim may be aware of that already, but I'm not. I looked at all the other buildings that are under kind of my management.
Okay, no.
We can certainly look into that, and if that's something that needs to be addressed, then we by all means should be getting capital projects in for that sort of thing to get that accessible.
It could even go into the grant.
Good.
Absolutely, and because those devices are not cheap, because you have electrical components that need to go in. Sometimes there's structural improvements that need to be done to the door frames and structures, and then the actual opening devices themselves. So you're easily into several thousand on every door set. And
there's 2 doors there to go in as well.
I do think it would be beneficial, because if you look at the demographic that utilizes that particular building the majority of the time, you've got the 2 Pro Bus clubs, you got the indoor lawn bowling, or you've got the bingo on Wednesdays nights. And if you look at, you know, the demographic, it's primarily, you know, a little older. So I think that'd be beneficial. I'm surprised they weren't put in at the time of the build, but.
Me too.
Is there any other comments or questions for Preston? Thank you, Preston, for your update and all your work on all of the accessibility needs there.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Marina, did you have something as well under municipal update?
Yes, I do. So I've only been here for a short time, but while I've been here, Jessica and I have been working really hard on making the municipal website accessible. So we receive an accessibility report of all the documents that are on the website, and I believe that Tom was working on this prior to my arrival. We're hoping for 100% compliance, of course. I'm sure it'll take a few months. We have a scan coming within the week from AdScan, so that's our supplier, and we're hoping that a lot of our efforts this month have made a difference. And then additionally, we're hoping that some staff training will ensure that future documents that go onto the website will be accessible. So I've been starting an accessibility in Word tip that I would send out every Friday. So last week I sent a primer, and today I will be sending out my first tip, which will be specifically on font and font size selection. So whenever you're making communications, making sure you choose a sans serif font, so one that doesn't have extra flourishes like Times New Roman or anything that kind of looks cursive, as well as choosing a font size that is 12 or above, so that people who have vision loss can read it a little easier. Really, anyone can read it a little easier. So every week I'll be sending out one of those small tips to staff. So it really actually is following quite closely to your theme for Accessibility Week in terms of vision loss. I'll be looking at spacing, about page breaks, setting the language of your documents that screen readers will read it out in the correct language that you're writing in, and all those types of things. So I have about 14 weeks right now that I have planned out, and I'm excited to send this all out. I'm also sending it to the library. I know Heather has received the one from last week. Hopefully if she finds them useful, she can send them on to her staff as well. So I'm hoping that the more that we are aware of these types of issues, and we can set, a default in our systems so that every time we open up a document or our email, it's, there's no additional work that you have to do. It's right there. I think it'll make a big difference for all of us, especially putting them on the website and making sure that that's compliant. So those are two things that I've really been working hard on. And then, as Jessica had mentioned earlier on in the meeting, we are using rev.com for our captioning on all committee and council meetings. So this is done right after the meeting has been posted to YouTube. The meeting is complete. Jessica has been uploading the YouTube video to our supplier, rev.com. And I believe we typically get it within the week, and the closed captioning is now then posted on the video, and so people can read if they're not able to hear what's going on. So that's another thing that we have for the municipal update. I don't believe I have anything else to add, so I'd love to answer any questions if anyone has any.
So that was read or see. Isn't that the same, or should it be read or hear what's on that?
So closed captioning is when you're reading at the bottom. The meeting already is audio, like you can already hear it.
Okay.
So it's for somebody who would be hard of hearing, then they can just read it on the screen.
Thank you.
Okay. Well, if there's no other questions from Marina, thank you for that update. And yeah, it's nice to see the closed captioning going, because I know we talked about that with Tom and made a recommendation for that last year. So it's good to see that that's up and running. Okay. Our next is 8.2 is the municipal election accessibility plan. So attached in our minutes was an accessibility plan for the election. So I'm not sure if that's Jessica or Marina was going to talk to that one.
That's me again. I'm sorry. You're hearing a lot of me in this meeting.
That's good. We'd like to have you.
So I've been hard at work preparing our election accessibility plan for this year's election. It is mandatory in the Municipal Elections Act that every municipality put forward an election accessibility plan, and then another plan or another report at the very end of the election documenting what sort of accessibility steps were taken. So this is part 1 of 2, where we identify what we want to do for the election, and then afterwards we'll sort of summarize it. So you'll see that as well after the election, so probably sometime in December. So I have put forward this plan. I'm looking for any questions, comments, or concerns, anything I can do to enhance the report as it stands. If you approve it, even based on any changes that you'd like me to make, it will go to council. We're hoping for February 22nd, so quite soon, so that we can get it posted on our website, so the community can see what sort of steps that we're taking in terms of accessibility. But of course, even once the plan is published, I'll continue to look for the removal of barriers. And then again, include that all on the final report at the end of the year. So I'll open it up for any questions that anyone has in terms of the document. Paul?
Marina, I just got something in the mail the other day from the town regarding the change from voting by mail to voting by internet for the upcoming election. So how does that play into anything different with the accessibility plan?
So for the accessibility plan, we have documented how the online internet vote will be accessible. So a screen reader can read it off to somebody who cannot see, for example, the paper that you receive in order to do a paper ballot that you would have had in the mail. So now somebody would be able to hear, people could be able to see it. So that's all included in here. We chose a vendor, Simply Voting, that does really look into the accessibility feature of their voting platform. So we really wanted to look into that, but we can certainly provide any alternative formats for anybody who is unable to access the, for example, you'll get a voter notification card that will show you your PIN. However, of course, that's the same as the voting by mail. It will be in paper format, so somebody may have difficulty to see it. So we're opening up election help centers, and that will be during the week of the election, so October 17th until the 24th. And anyone can come in and receive assistance in voting, and we'll have stations set up so they can vote with us, especially individuals who may not have the internet or computers.
Right.
We'll have one in the library and then several other sites open as well during that period.
Okay, and that was my question of whether there's going to be any in-person voting at all.
Opportunities.
Yeah. Okay,
Yes.
so that's good then. All right, so that's covered. Good, thank you.
Are there
So
any other
people-
questions?
So
Oh, sorry, go
I
ahead,
was
Linda.
gonna, sorry. So people that don't use a computer, they have to go to the voting station to get help to vote. Is that the plan?
Yes, we will have tablets that are set up that have exactly the same view that you would have on a phone, on your tablet at home, or a computer.
What if you
And
don't
then
know?
it will be set up.
What if you don't know how to use a tablet? I don't have any
It will already
tablet or computer knowledge. So for me, the person's going to be there to tell me how to use the tablet.
Yes, somebody can walk you through
Okay.
the process and then step away as you make your vote. It's
Okay.
quite straightforward. It'll sort of look exactly the same as if you're filling out a paper ballot. It will just be on an electronic device, so we can wipe it down in between when people leave. So it's
Okay.
following more COVID measures as opposed to every vote by mail package having to pass through all of our hands as well.
Okay.
Was there anything in particular in the plan that you wanted any assistance on, or any advice on, or is it pretty standard?
It's pretty standard. I'm just looking for general comments, anything else that you think maybe I've missed, because I certainly want to have as all-encompassing plan as I can possibly have. But as I said before, I'll continue to make sure that even if something exceeds this plan, we certainly put it into motion as the election is going on, and we can report all of those things that weren't in this initial plan in the report at the end. So you'll be able to see that.
Yep. Are there any other comments or thoughts towards the accessibility, the voting accessibility plan for Marina? Okay, so are you looking for a motion then as well to approve the, what's the official name of it? Going back up to the top, the Brighton Municipal Election Accessibility Plan.
Yeah, so we're looking for a motion that you approve the report and recommend that it be sent to council.
Okay,
I will so move.
okay, Paul's gonna move it.
I'll second it.
And Sandy second it, and all in favor for that?
Aye.
Okay. Okay, thank you for all your work on that, Marina. And Jessica probably too. I realized as I'm looking at that, we don't have Heather reporting on anything, but maybe there isn't anything from the library to report on.
Oh, I don't have anything to report at this time.
Okay, that's good. I just didn't want you to think we forgot about you. Next is number 9, accessibility concerns from the public. We've already talked about the block accessible button update at the health center and YMCA. Has anyone heard any other accessibility concerns? Linda, I think you had something.
Yes, a lady told me the other day that crossing from, okay, this is Main Street and Prince Edward, crossing from the east side to the west side is very frightening for her because she was almost hit by a car turning. Even though she had the walk signal, the car also had the green light and almost got hit. So now, luckily enough, she has a car. So when she wants to go from the east side of town to the west side of town, she can drive her car over there. But she definitely will not be walking there because it's too frightening for her to almost get hit by cars at that corner, which we know is the worst corner for traffic and pedestrians. The mix is really wrong there. So I said, did she mind if I told you guys? Because I had a meeting coming up, and she said, no, that's fine. I just wasn't to use her name. So that's the concern that I had from the community. I don't see many people. So you could guess who I see or not. But yeah, that's still a big concern. And it's a concern for me too when I'm crossing there, but I try very hard. I've got in a habit of putting my hand out straight in front of my machine so people notice that I'm coming. But anyways, that's the way it is there. That's all.
Yes, it's a busy corner for anyone crossing there. So I can see how that could happen. Does anyone have any comments on that? Or I'm not sure how much of it's more a police issue versus accessibility, right? Because I think it involves everybody crossing there.
Yes, but we seldom see a police officer in town. So nobody sees that. Nobody sees it except the person that's affected by either the person in the car. Last year, I had my hand out to cross and the car still went in front of me. So of course I stopped, but the passenger in the passenger seat of the car said, I'm sorry. But the driver didn't notice that I was trying to cross there. So she wasn't in charge of the car. So that's what happened. But yes, it happens all. And it's not just for me. People pushing strollers, people walking with canes. You know, it's a problem. It's still a great big problem. Thank you.
Mark, I see your hand up there.
I was just going to add, is there an opportunity for the accessibility committee to send something to council to ask our economic development officer? I think it starts with education because we've got a lot of areas that are hot spots. It's that corner is bad, but you can pick any corner. It comes down to bad driving habits and people being in a hurry, and just, you know, through the accessibility committee, work with, you know, send it to council and send out daily reminders on that type of stuff. Because, you know, I don't think there's any one fix unless you got to put up a railway crossing sign that stops people, because you can pick the intersection and you're going to run into those bad drivers like that. And we would never be able to hire enough police officers to be in every spot at every time to catch them when they have those bad driving habits. I think there's an opportunity to start with the education factor and the constant reminding of those things. We've got our website, we got our Facebook page. Maybe send something through council and see if the economic development team can send out weekly reminders. And maybe as an accessibility committee, we can write things to give to them from our point of view on why it's so important.
Mm-hmm.
The main thing is, if the light didn't go green to let the car go at the same time as the signal was for the walk signal for the pedestrians to cross at the same time, that's the problem. It's not totally the drivers. It's not totally that we don't have police at that intersection. It's because the green light lets the cars come through at the same time as the pedestrian wants to cross. At other crossings, the traffic is stopped so pedestrians can cross safely, but not at that point. And it's very frustrating, that whole thing, because the crossing at like Terry Fox crossing the street, the traffic is stopped. The traffic isn't allowed to go at the same time, I believe, as the pedestrians allowed to cross. So that's where the problem is. Until and I know people don't want to stop traffic from flowing, but they do it. They do it in places so that pedestrians don't get hit by cars. And I think last year when they were putting up new signals there, I thought the problem was solved, and the problem wasn't solved at all. It's a big problem because it's the main crossing place in our town at the end of Main Street, at Prince Edward, and well, people have been hit before. So that's what I think the problem is. Thank you.
How does the committee feel? Do people want to put a motion forward to council about concerns about that intersection and looking at education? How does everyone else feel? Preston?
I could just speak to that intersection a little bit. Councillor Bateman is right. It's 100% driver error. The Highway Traffic Act clearly states that they have to yield to pedestrians, and that's under all scenarios. Right now, we have an advanced walk on both of those intersections, east and west, that provide, I can't remember how many seconds, but many seconds advanced walking before that light turns green. And that is designed to try to get them to stop and relax for 5 seconds while humans cross the street. I see it constantly everywhere where the vehicles run red lights. They don't stop when they're turning right on a red. I've had issues even over at the Royal Bank. Go to hit the light, the lights turn red, start to walk across, and vehicles blow through right in front of me. And I mean at a high rate of speed, they blow in front of me, not even realizing there's a red light there. I think the only thing we can do beyond what we've already done is public awareness through the OPP, laying charges and pulling people over and drawing it to the attention. It seems to be the only effective method to get people to, obey speed limits and just everyday driving habits that, stop at a stop sign. I really don't know what more we could do at that intersection to increase safety other than getting drivers to obey the law.
Paul, I see your hand up.
Then if there was anything that we wanted to ask council to do, could we ask council to ask the OPP for some enforcement measures on intersections where there are lights within the town of Brighton, because we are noticing that public is being put much more at risk. And for some education and enforcement measures might be required, for a period of time.
We don't seem to be able to, we've posted signs for speed limits and the speed limits aren't adhered to. So I don't know if people aren't worried about the speed limit in our safety zone for our two schools, and they race down Elizabeth Street. I don't know how the OPP are going to, unless the cruiser is right there watching them. Even if the cruiser's there watching them, I don't think they're going to, they don't listen, they don't adhere to the signs.
No.
They speed by, they speed through the crosswalk. One of the crossing guards almost got hit last year.
Yeah.
I don't know what's in people's minds, drivers' minds, that they can't read signs and follow the signs. And I don't know if the police are going to be able to increase their awareness or increase their, I don't know how to get into these people's heads that people have the right to cross the road, even if they're driving down the road. Sorry.
No, it's okay. I think we can hear the frustration in your voice, Linda.
Yeah.
Paul, did you have something to say back for that?
I think just in a, like an advertised enforcement blitz, it brings some awareness. And of course on the, as much public awareness as possible through the town webpage. And I don't know, it's a problem in any town. It doesn't matter where we are. We're at the crossroads of entry into Prince Edward County and the east-west tourist trade. So our town is maybe a little bit more vulnerable than some others, but lack of respect for the rules of the road are rampant all over. So awareness, enforcement, that's the only way we can do it. And it's never going to be 100% all the time, but you'll ding some and put some money in the coffers, but still.
I'm just writing up. Oh, sorry, Jessica, go ahead.
Sorry, I wanted to let everybody get their thoughts out first, and then maybe suggest that, Nicole, you reach out to Candace about this, because we do have a police services board, and the couple OPP members do sit on that board and attend and usually provide updates. And, so I wonder if that might be a better outlet to discuss these concerns with that committee. And not that the awareness idea is a bad idea at all, but I just wonder if maybe discussing it at that committee would be more beneficial than possibly more beneficial than the awareness, to maybe bring these public concerns to the OPP and put it right in their face that this is an issue.
I had that thought as well, because I'm pretty sure there's a police services board, and I wonder how best to get information to them. And I definitely can send an email to Candace with concerns brought up today about that intersection, and she can bring that forward to the police services board.
Yeah, I think that
so-
that might be helpful.
So
But
I
it's
can
not
do
just that, it's not just that intersection, it's the town itself. I haven't, you know, because I slow down going past the school and stuff, and I have never seen one radar there, not once. You know,
I do see them in the mornings when I'm bringing my kids
Yeah?
to school. Not all the
Okay.
time, but I do
Not all
see.
the time, but
Sometimes
certain-
it's in different spots, but I do see.
Okay. Up by No Frills, I think I've seen maybe one. But that kind of thing. So it's the town itself.
Yeah.
That light beside Vito's and the Esso gas station, that's a terrible light.
Yes.
The visibility there coming westbound behind Vito's and the LCBO, that's terrible. It's a, you know, people get, I'm surprised people haven't been killed there, because that's a terrible light coming westbound. Not so much going eastbound. Going westbound's not so bad, but coming out of that little street, geez.
Yeah. Sometimes they put the speed machine on a post and have it for a little while to figure out, I guess, how many people they're getting speeding down.
Yep.
But anytime you come past that post and that little machine, they always seem to be going faster than the signs allow.
Yes.
So,
Most certainly,
yes.
that's, yeah.
Okay, I definitely don't mind. I can send that email to Candace. Does the committee also wish to put a motion forward about doing some education through the Economic Development Committee or Economic Committee person? Or is that something that should be done more through the Police Services Board?
I think that's the Police Services Board issue.
Okay, I can add that to the email to Candace if that's okay with everybody.
yeah. Mm.
Sandy?
We're on Ontario Street across the railway tracks, and the speed going down Ontario Street is atrocious. So if we need to get some attention on that, I would really appreciate it.
Okay, I can add that. Mark?
I was just going to say, and Preston, you could probably speak to this. And I know they're not in place yet, but in the last budget before I went off, we did approve some traffic calming measures that haven't been deployed yet. So it is already being looked into. That's why I'm a strong believer in the education process, because you got to constantly educate. You know, look at MAD. You know, everybody knows you shouldn't drink and drive, but you know, Mothers Against Drunk Driving still have to continually blast that out there, and we have signs in our own municipality advertising that. But Preston, you could probably speak to the traffic calming measures when they'll be put into place.
Through Madam Chair,
Okay.
Council approved $24,000 to purchase digital solar powered speed signs. So they'll display the car speed similar to what we have on Yonge Street North and South at Singleton, but a much smaller, more portable version so we can deploy them all over the municipality. And that's what's been approved thus far.
Good.
Okay. All right. I will go ahead and do that email through to Candace for Police Services Board. And then if I hear anything back, I'll report back at another meeting. Anything else from accessibility concerns from the public? Okay. So then I don't believe there's any correspondence. Marina or Jessica? Nope. So then the next thing is our next meeting date. So if we look at the second Friday of March, that would be the 11th at 10 o'clock. Is that okay with everybody else?
Yes. Yeah. 10 o'clock.
Okay. All right. Then that'll be the next meeting date. And then all that's left is adjournment. Would anyone like to move to adjourn today's meeting?
Barry.
I will.
Yeah, second that.
Sandy, you can't get someone else to do the motion.
She's usually off and running to another meeting.
That's true. I heard Colleen, so we'll do Colleen, and I see Linda's hand up. So Linda will be our seconder, and all in favor for that. All right. Thank you, everybody.
Okay,
Thank
bye
you.
now.